So this is iOS 26. It is Apple's latest software update coming to the iPhone lineup. This is iPadOS 26. It is Apple's latest software update coming to the iPad lineup. And this is macOS Tahoe 26. It is Apple's latest. La repetition. You pretty much get the idea that Apple is renaming their software to match with the year. So instead of iOS 19, we're getting iOS 26. So why call it 26 when we're still in 25? See, OS 26 is still in beta mode, and by the time it rolls out, 2026 will be super close. So going into 2026 with OS 25 kind of makes the typical Apple user feel outdated. Even though if this was called OS 19 and that remains the newest software till 2027, it wouldn't make any difference, as if OS 26 remains the newest software till 2027. But the way we name things sometimes has an impact on the way people feel about it or the way they feel about themselves. Is this making sense? Anyway, there is a lot to speak on, so the focus is going to be on iOS 26. So the main theme is what Apple calls liquid glass. And now almost every icon has this background made of glass morphism. Liquid glass. And it looks really sick, but don't be blinded by this, because you might belong to two kinds of people: those who like this and those who don't. And it doesn't matter what group that you belong to, you might be overlooking the small things that actually make a difference. So the liquid glass in some places actually look appealing to the eye, like the lock screen. The time appears behind the wallpaper, and you have this dynamic effect and a rounded border radius when you swipe up the screen. And you also get this effect that looks like you spilled oil in water. Kind of makes sense why they call it liquid glass in the first place. So in the messaging app, when you click on someone's name, it does this smooth effect that adapts to the background color of that DM. So when it scrolls somewhere with a dark section, then it darkens. And when it scrolls somewhere with a white section, then it adapts. This might be one of the coolest things about this. It somehow solves the readability problems that this liquid glass poses. It is definitely not perfect, but it lets you read your messages. Great. Beyond the glass is what makes iOS 26 iOS 26. There's this new feature called Hold Assist that silence calls for you when you're put on hold. And that way you don't have to listen to the music, or you don't have to put your phone on speaker, and you can do some things on your phone. And it lets you know when someone's back on the line. But I found a flaw in this is that when I call some places, and some places have ads into their system, and whenever it hears this ad, it just tells me someone's back on the line, except that's not true. It is just an ad. My guess is this feature only silences music, and it doesn't care if it's an ad. As long as it perceives someone speaking, then it lets you know someone's back on the line. And when I check, it is just an ad. I do have a possible theory on why this happens and a possible way to fix this, but my way of explaining it kind of feels complex. Okay, anyway, I'll tell you my theory. Why this happens is that it doesn't matter if someone is actually speaking on the phone or if the voice is coming from a pre-programmed ad. As long as it is not music, this feature perceives it as someone speaking on the phone. And a possible way to fix this is a way to identify when a pre-programmed ad is playing versus when an actual human being is speaking on the phone. Does that make sense? That's my possible theory. Okay, so the thing that people didn't like with iOS 18 was what Apple did with the Photos app. But in iOS 26, they actually fixed it. Thanks, Apple. Now you have all the different modes here at the bottom, and you can swipe through them. To see additional settings, you can click on the mode that you're in, or these 6 dots here at the top. And there is this new mode called Spatial, and it does exactly what it sounds like. It lets you shoot spatial scenes. And you can benefit from that if you have a Vision Pro. But if you don't, there is a new feature in the Photos app that lets you turn most of your photos into spatial scenes. But of course, it wouldn't look as great as it does on a VR headset, so that's kind of makes it somewhat of a gimmick feature on a phone. Quick question, doesn't it annoy you when a thing is hyped so much that it becomes less interesting by the time you see the actual thing? I'm disappointed in myself for following the hype of iOS 26 of the whole glass morphism. Anyway, that's the review so far of this whole iOS 26, and I won't be speaking on this until the final update comes out. Then I'll do a huge review of the whole OS 26 lineup. And that's it pretty much for this video. Thank you for watching. See you guys in the next one. Stay cool.